Miranda Maverick versus Maycee Barber. This is one of those, like I just said earlier, I do not think this fight should be happening. Miranda Maverick said it herself. She was like, this fight actually doesn't do much for either of us, win or loss. Like, maybe if it was number 4 versus number 5, yeah, but 13 and 14, maybe we should be fighting some of the older people who are in the flyweight division. At the end of the day, man, this is just a little tournament in between number 2 through number 15, because we know none of these females could beat Valentina Shevchenko right now. With that being said, Miranda Maverick does open up as a minus 130 favorite against the plus 110 underdog in Maycee Barber, man. Maycee Barber at one point, right? This was just recently. She was the future. Her nickname is the future. And she had a little countdown clock to be the youngest UFC champion of all time. Now, clearly, that's not going to happen. Not on trajectory for that after back-to-back losses, after a major knee injury that she suffered against Roxanne Modafferi. Her last loss was against who did she fight? Alexa Grasso, man. She got pieced up into striking against the Mexican soon-to-be champion, I believe, man. I think somewhere down the road, Alexa Grasso can be a champion for sure. But nonetheless, let me get my opinion out of it, man. Let me ask you this, AJ. Do you think this is a back against the wall, like you just spoke of earlier, spot for Maycee Barber? She isn't necessarily viewing it that way because she's young, but there's a lot of pressure after back-to-back losses. What do you think?
You kind of feel like it, doesn't it? You know, it kind of feels like after 2 losses, especially in the way she lost to Modafferi with the knee injury coming back, everyone thought that, you know, all right, maybe she's a different fighter with the knee, maybe she's not. We'll see how it goes. Ended up getting that L to Grasso. It kind of feels like it. It kind of seems like this is her last shot to really, or I guess maybe not her last shot, but one of the shots coming up to really prove that she still belongs here. Because after a major surgery like that, sure, your body might be intact. Your body might actually be better than it was before because you might have had little small tears or whatever, but your mind might not be right. And that's kind of where my what's the word I'm looking for? My hesitation is with Maycee Barber. We got to really see how her mindset is going into this, whether she's, you know, locked in, ready to go, still on that future, trajectory like she's talking about, or if she's a little hesitant, because in that Grasso fight, she was a little too hesitant for me. Now, I do think that Maycee Barber has a little bit more tools in the tool belt as far as like speed, ground game, the clinch work she loves to do, because once she gets you in that clinch and goes for the takedown, she's going to beat you up on the ground. Will that happen to Miranda Maverick? I don't know, because Miranda Maverick is so strong. She's very small fighter, and she's going to be the smaller fighter coming into this, but I think she'll be the more stacked fighter. She's looking a little bigger. She stays a little flat-footed and throws hella bombs. So Miranda Maverick has a chance to knock Maycee Barber out. And really, this one's going to be interesting because I do agree with you, Derek. I don't think these ladies should be fighting this early in their career. Since they're so early, I do think they'll match up again, and we'll be able to see a number 2, maybe even a rubber match. But this one, to me, feels like one of those matches where Barber has a lot to lose, but not a lot to win. Miranda Maverick doesn't really have a lot to lose or win either way. It's just a name on her hit list. What do you think?
You know what, man? I got to disagree with you just on that last point about Miranda Maverick not having anything to lose, because I do think that she is being touted as someone who is supposed to be making a run for a future championship. Clearly not right now. Like, let Valentina Shevchenko retire, be the best at flyweight, and then the next iteration, because this is the next generation. This is the future of the women's flyweight bout, right? Or women's flyweight division. So let her, build herself up a little bit, man. And I think that, in all honesty, there's a lot of pressure on Miranda Maverick. She is a former Invicta Phoenix Series winner. That is a tournament, one-night tournament situation right there. So she has chops, man. She can fight multiple times in a night, no pressure, all that good stuff, man. But she does have a real test in front of her in Maycee Barber. I think Maycee Barber is going to be very, very hungry. I think Maycee Barber is going to be looking to reclaim that hype that she had on her just a few, years ago, I guess, a couple months ago, really, at that point. This is how I see this, AJ. This is a question that I have to ask for you. Miranda Maverick being big for 125, so is Maycee Barber. Miranda Maverick is a Muay Thai kickboxing fighter, right? She does have some BJJ chops, you know what I'm saying? But Maycee Barber is a bruiser. And we saw in the 3rd round of the Grasso fight, she really turned it on, man. So if she starts this fight with the same intensity that she did in the 3rd round of the Grasso fight, it could be dangerous, man. I haven't really seen Miranda Maverick get clipped. Have you, just out of curiosity, man, have you ever seen her in just any of her fights get really rocked or clipped? She's always kind of been in control of her fights, right?
Yeah, she's always been the pressure fighter. She's always been the one controlling it, walking the girls down, kind of reeling that. Nothing comes to mind when I think about it, whenever her getting clipped. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one of those things is I want to see. Maycee Barber has the power to actually really clip you. All it takes is one shot, man. And you notice, so one thing I noticed in her last fight against Grosso is Maycee Barber came out like a little mini Mike Tyson, dipping, diving, ducking, dodging, weaving, like already saying, but throwing big winging overhands. Not one, two. She was throwing faint jabs from like 5 feet away, man, way out of range. So she's gonna have to shore that up. Hopefully she did. But she's throwing these big shots, man. And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, Miranda Maverick, she's more of a I'm gonna piece you up all 3 rounds. You know what I mean? Maycee Barber, I mean, let's look at it. She got 5 knockouts on her record. Miranda Maverick only has 1, and she has 5 submissions. So definitely a difference in these fighters. In the UFC, Miranda Maverick has not shown a tendency to want to grapple much. You know what I'm saying? She actually got out grappled in the second round against her Jillian Robertson in her last fight. But at the end of the day, she got that experience she needed. Let me ask you this before we really dive deep, AJ. Maycee Barber is taking the TJ Dillashaw approach to her training camps where she's kind of going everywhere, mixing it up, new camp just about every fight. She says that you need to be critiquing and reinventing yourself every single day, but some would argue if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Maycee Barber, I don't know if you know this, AJ, but she just signed a 12-month lease over there in Sacramento, and she's fighting at Team Alpha Male. Did you know that?
I didn't.
That's a big change. So normally her original training camp was in Wisconsin. Then she went over with Mike Valley and Izzy Rodriguez, and now it's Team Alpha Male. And she says that she wanted structure in her camp. She wanted people who was young guns that are trying to get into the UFC, also people who are trying to become UFC champions over there at Team Alpha Male. Just what do you think about the camp switch, man? Do you think that she's just maybe trying to reinvent a little bit too much instead of having the consistency of the same camp over multiple fights?
No, I actually kind of like the switch, Derek. I'm of the belief if you're done, you're dead. The second you say no, I'm done training. I'm done doing this. I know my stuff. I'm dead. That's just it. You can't grow any further if you're not growing day to day. You said it before. You called it the TJ Dillashaw approach, but I actually think that's more of the Bruce Lee mindset. Mm-hmm. He was talking about back in the day where you got to train, karate, kickboxing, Muay Thai, all the arts in order to actually get this stuff going to be the best you can possibly be, because you don't know what you don't know until you know it. You know what I'm saying? Until you realize it and discover it. Now, going back to the Team Alpha Male camp, I actually really like this for her because one of the flaws of Team Alpha Male is they just fight with their heart. You know what I'm saying? They just bite down on the mouthpiece and start winging shots. It's why Cody Garbrandt lost to TJ Dillashaw a couple times. They lose the game plan and just try to fight, which I think for Maycee Barber might be a little bit better because that's where she needs to come out with that aggression, that Team Alpha Male aggression that we have seen through many a fighter, whether it's Song Yadong or whoever. There's a ton of fighters that are able to harness that energy and bite down and really go for it. And I think that's going to add a lot to Maycee Barber's style, and the fact that she's willing to put people up against the fence, control them, take them down, and then beat them up. I kind of like this move. I like this move a lot for her, especially to Team Alpha Male. What do you think about it?
Like I said, man, I just think consistency needs to be built up, right? It's like going for a football team, right? You have a new head coach every year. You have to learn a new system every year. You can't really build on what you have learned and really take it to the well. However, Maycee Barber is so young in her career. Maybe that's part of the process, is just figuring it out. We have to know Maycee Barber turned professional, or she turned into a professional fighter after only 1 fight. So, this is literally, she had no amateur career, you know what I'm saying? She didn't have all of this tune-up, build-up stuff, the same way Miranda Maverick was able to kind of build her name in Invicta and all of these places, man. Let me ask you this, AJ. I want to know best path to victory for both of these fighters. Both of these fighters excel in the same places, which is what's scary. We've talked about this last week in a couple of the matchups. Miranda Maverick is a Muay Thai fighter. Maycee Barber, let her get in the clinch, vicious knees, vicious elbows. Miranda Maverick has a mean blast double, and she can control you on top. Top control is legit. Maycee Barber, mean blast double. She can control you on top for the whole entire round and finish you. She has the Aspen Ladd approach where she could just finish you with the ground and pound very, very easily. You know what I'm saying? And lastly, when it comes down to common opponents, right? Jillian Robertson is one in the last 5. Maverick took her to a decision, and Maycee Barber got her out of there in the first round, man. So like I said, the power difference is something different for Maycee Barber, the future Maycee Barber. Now, like I said, best path to victory. What do you think for both fighters?
I think best path to victory for Miranda Maverick is going to keep it standing and keep it in that Muay Thai kick range. Not necessarily knees. She doesn't want to get up close. And I definitely don't see her taking down Maycee Barber. That was my question to you, because in her Jillian Robertson fight, Miranda Maverick looked good on the ground. She was working that ground takedown, but do we see her taking down Maycee Barber? Me personally, I don't think that's a good look for her. I think she's going to get out wrestled on there because she got out wrestled in the second round against Robertson. If Miranda Maverick, personally, what I'm thinking, if Miranda Maverick wants to win, she's going to have to keep it long, keep it lanky, blast some shots from the outside. Even though she's the smaller in height fighter, they have the same reach. Now, if Maycee Barber wants to win, I think she's got to put that pressure to her, get her up the cage, and get back to what she used to be doing right before, the Jillian Robert, or right before the Roxanne Modafferi fight, where she was fighting, JJ Aldrich, Jillian Robertson, Hannah Cyphers, taking people up against the cage, grabbing them, putting them down, and then putting a hold of their hand through their face. She's still very young. Maycee Barber's still very young, so I think she has the energy and the desire to do that. I just don't think that mental game's there. So I definitely think a good early start and a good early win will be the best route for her. So I definitely think she wants to put that pressure on so that she can just get in, get the dub, and get out instead of having to worry about the ifs or the so's that can come up in the fight game. Miranda Maverick, she's very, very strong, and that's where I give her the X factor advantage. I think she has that sneaky strength where she'll sit down on her shots, smash that bug, and light up Maycee Barber if she can. So if she wins, I think it's going to be by standing. What do you think, Derek?
Well, you know what? For Miranda Maverick, I also think she does need to get it done on the feet. One thing that we saw about Maycee Barber in her last fight is that she needs to make it a dogfight if she wants to have success. You know what I'm saying? Like, she needs to make it dirty. It can't be a technical fight. And I think that's exactly what Miranda Maverick brings to the fight, a very technical fight. She uses her lead hand very well, feints a bunch of different uppercuts, all that good stuff, so then she could set up combos off of the jab, off of the feints and whatnot. And I love feints. You know what I mean? I think and Corey Sandhagen, we'll talk about that, master of feints right there, death by 1,000 feints. But ultimately, it's going to be counterintuitive. Maycee Barber, I think her best approach to winning is clinched up against the fence, using that strength, that brute strength and force, knees, elbows, all that stuff, all the same stuff that Miranda Maverick is so good at. But I do think that Maycee Barber is just going to be bigger. Even though they're both really big for the division, Maycee Barber is huge, you know what I'm saying? And not in a bad way, like in a great way. Like we say, weight cutting, it's legalized cheating, but take advantage of it while you might as well do it, you know what I'm saying? Let's go down to the picks, AJ. The last thing that I got to note is that if Miranda Maverick did want to take down Maycee Barber, it would have to go to she's an 80% takedown defense in Maycee Barber, so it's going to be a tough task, you know what I'm saying, for Miranda Maverick. However, one of these fighters has to lose. These are two of the youngest fighters on the roster. Miranda Maverick is, 24 years old, and Maycee Barber is 23. So believe it or not, Maycee Barber is younger than Miranda Maverick. But who are you going with for this pick and why?
This is another one where, like in the last fight, I had some trouble picking this one. I was kind of up and down. I really like Maycee Barber as a fighter. I might give her a little sympathy because we both suffered an ACL injury. So, there might be a little bias going into this one, but I definitely do think Miranda Maverick can get the dub. This one's really close fight. It's going to be very interesting. But me personally, I'm going Maycee Barber, KO, round 2, getting back to her ground and pound ways. Who you got, Derek, and why?
I'm going Miranda Maverick, man. You got to fear the Maverick on this one. I'm rocking with her all the way up until the championship, man. She hasn't lost in like 6 fights or something like that, man. 5-0 in her last 5. And she's dangerous, man. And literally, I just watched The Anatomy of a Fighter. Will Harris does that on YouTube, so check it out, folks. It's a really good series where he just like behind the scenes for these fighters. And she's going to school. She's a full-time student, a great fighter, right? But she does nothing but fight and go to school. That's it. There's no other extracurricular activities. I'm not quite sure if we could say the same about Maycee Barber, because personally I just don't know. It would be a guess for me. But I will say, man, when you focus, when you make these sacrifices that is necessary to become one of these legit contenders, you got to keep rolling with the man. I'm going with the favorite, Miranda Maverick, and I'm going a decision win, believe it or not, man. I don't think that she'll be able to submit Barber, and I definitely don't think she'll be able to knock out Barber, man. I think Barber's a little bit too tough on that one, man. But with that being said, move on to this next.